As an American, I'm very grateful for having the constitutional protections of our jury system in our American criminal justice system. And having been prosecuted and acquitted in that system, I am here today to talk to you about what I would do differently if I were prosecuted again and how my life's lessons would help you in your situation. Having been the duly elected Attorney General for the state of Utah, the state's chief prosecutor on the one hand, and a criminal defendant being prosecuted by the state on the other hand, I have a lot of experience about what it's like to navigate a prosecution. When I was the Attorney General, any lawsuit, any charge filed against a member of the state would be the state of Utah by and through Attorney General John Swallow versus the criminal defendant. You can imagine how I felt when the first time I walked into court as a defendant on the other side when the caption said, the state of Utah against John Swallow, the defendant. And the shame I felt when I went through that excruciating experience. Today I want to talk about 5 things I would do differently if I had to face a prosecution one more time. And I hope it's a real eye-opener for you and helps you if you're ever under the gun like I was, facing a false prosecution. The first thing when you're facing a prosecution is to take all allegations, all assertions seriously, which is something I didn't do. When I first heard the story they were trying to make up against me, I laughed out loud. I couldn't believe it. I was at a funeral for a very dear friend, and someone came up to me and said, hey, I hear they're looking into this. And I just couldn't believe they were so foolish as to think a story like that would stick. It was so far from the truth. What I'm here to say is that when the media gets things rolling, it can catch like wildfire and start a snowball effect. When allegations associated with you can taint a company or legislature, they may decide it's in their best interest to let you go. And from there is often no turning back. And that is exactly what happened with me. Once the media got going, and people continue to feed stories into my situation, it was like a snowball or an avalanche. And I just barely clung on and tried to survive as long as I could. But I learned quickly that my hesitation initially not to take it seriously cost me critical time at kind of the pivot point. And because I didn't react soon enough, wisely enough, emphatically enough, it ended up snowballing and costing me my career. And I faced a dreadful prosecution, which fortunately I was able to survive, but it was very, very difficult, unnecessarily so. Take all allegations seriously and act accordingly. Second, there are no secrets. Anything that you tell a friend, anything that you tell a parent, anything you tell a member of your community, whether it's in business or politics or school, all of those conversations are what are called non-privileged, which means that any criminal investigator can talk to any of those people and know exactly what you talked about. Trust no one to keep a secret. There simply are no secrets in corporate or political life. If you send an email, assume everyone will know the content and not the context. It doesn't take much for a prosecutor to get a jury thinking you are not a good guy. And juries always find a way to convict the bad guy. I couldn't emphasize that more. If you are facing a prosecution, be very careful who you talk to, be very careful what you write and what you send, because there are no secrets. That means that when you talk to your lawyer, you also need to confide in your lawyer all your secrets so that your lawyer is never surprised about anything that might come out in trial, that he's very prepared to defend anything anyone may say. 3, prepare for the worst case scenario. And I would add to that, think of the end game. Think of where you want to be at the very end. So for example, in my case, I was elected as the chief legal executive officer and held the highest legal office in the state. But to my utter surprise, when allegations were made that were patently untrue, I was left to defend on my personal budget. And my attorney's fees got over $50,000 a month, which we could ill afford. I decided to leave my position to conserve my limited personal resources. If I had had more resources, I would have had more options to save my political position, salary, benefits, and potentially my political career. I cannot emphasize enough that when something catastrophic, like a criminal charge, happens to you, and it's serious, as you take it seriously and consider the worst case scenario, your employment possibilities, your job, how you're perceived by the public makes little difference to the one thing that's most important, and that is surviving a criminal charge, becoming acquitted, and saving your liberty and your right to stay at home with your family, dress in your own clothes, eat your own meals, and become a productive member of society once again. So as you face this, prepare for the worst case scenario, and it will guide your decisions. Had I been more in tune with the possibilities, I would have left my office much earlier, conserved more of my resources, and perhaps alleviated the likelihood of my actually going all the way to a criminal trial where my life, my fate was placed in the hands of the jury, which was very intimidating and very risky. Fortunately for me, the truth came out and I survived. But you can't always count on that as you make decisions along the way. So always prepare for the worst case scenario and make your decisions accordingly. 4, be paranoid. Now, I'm not saying that you need to walk around with tinfoil over your head and look behind every nook and cranny to make sure that no one is watching you. But in today's business and political climate, no one is immune from having enemies swinging to take down a powerful or influential person, and the public and press love a scandal and a bad guy. No one is too big to be taken down. Always assume that there are people who would benefit from your demise. Unfortunately, the very best people who have the loudest or strongest voice in any community, whether it's a sports community or an education community like in your elementary school if you're teaching there, or in politics or business, if you're making waves, if you want to make a difference, you are a target. And so it's okay to be a little paranoid and say, I probably have enemies lurking out there, and I better be very wise as I'm making comments or decisions and make sure that whatever I'm doing, I'm staying clean, which is another topic for another day, right? Doing the best I can to do the right thing and always keeping my antenna up that I may have an enemy lurking out there that wants something that I have or wants to destroy me, and be prepared to act accordingly. Had I been more in tune to the fact that I had political enemies, I never would have made some of the decisions I did make, and I likely never would have been prosecuted. 5, rely on top drawer lawyers. In other words, hire the best and smartest counsel that you can possibly afford. And that's exactly what I was able to do. I was not happy early on with my counsel, and I went on a national search to try to find an affordable lawyer who I had the confidence would represent me and my freedom and my liberty and my reputation and give me the very best chance for an acquittal. Like with physicians, the right lawyer will make a huge difference, and you'll be well served to know the best and most respected lawyers and firms. If you face a problem, lawyers who deal with your company may hesitate to work with you because it could alienate their deep-pocketed clients. So you should have relationships with lawyers who do not work for your company. Again, there's a conflict of interest situation when you're working with the company lawyer. So reach out, find lawyers, develop relationships, develop friendships with those who know lawyers. And if at the first hint that you feel like something is going south from an accusation or prosecution standpoint, reach out to a lawyer, seek counsel early, develop a game plan and a strategy with that lawyer, and find the very best lawyer you can find. That made all the difference for me as I faced a very complicated case with a lot of variables and a lot of tough witnesses, and we navigated that shark-filled water stretch that I went through successfully because, in large measure, I had fantastic lawyers who I trusted and who did a super job for me. You would be well served to do the same, and had I done that a little earlier, it might have gone better for me as well. As you know, this isn't legal advice, and these 5 steps, although it may help you, are always subject to the competent advice of competent counsel that you can engage that understands your specific situation and can give you the advice that you need to tackle something as serious as a prosecution. But let me tell you this, as a neighbor and friend to my friends, I know how difficult it is to find the right counsel. And if I can drive home any point, it's that if you are facing the very most excruciating experience of your life, which very well may be a malicious criminal charge defending your liberty and freedom and reputation, you need all the help that you can get to find the right counsel. So I invite you to contact my team and let me understand what you're struggling with, and let me know how I can help you find the right counsel that can defend your rights on a budget that you can afford. Again, I encourage you to click on the link below, share with us your information and your story, and let me help you get in touch with my team, and we'll help you find the right counsel at the right price. Thank you for watching. I hope that you can glean something important from my 5 things I would do differently if I were to be prosecuted again, and that you can apply it to your life in case you're ever in this same excruciating situation. I invite you to subscribe and ring the bell, and that way we can get you more information about how you can deal with the legal challenges we face in our lives today as a matter of routine sometimes. And I invite you to check out this next video.